Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
Good. Good.
Good. I like the sound of good. Okay. All right. Shana Tova. Happy New Year.
If you're a tree.
I mean, yeah. Aren't we all trees? Oh, that's what we're going to do today. Today is Tu B'Shvat. Yeah. Oh, yes, Ron?
So this is the, I don't know, New Year or whatever you want to call it for the trees.
Yes.
But we count the number of years starting at Rosh Hashanah.
Well, there's 4 New Years. Yeah, we're going to look at that right now.
No, not that question. No, I was listening to a podcast and they said, this is the day we celebrate, but when you count the years for the trees, it's Rosh Hashanah.
I don't know about that. I don't know. You know, different people count years different ways, right? Like, for example, I know a friend that had a organ donation, right? And they count their years based on how many years they've survived since their organ donation. I know, we've had some survivors in our congregation that have counted their lives based on, they feel like they had a second birthing opportunity, right? And they counted their years based on that. So I know I'm not necessarily directly answering your question, but I think we count our lives in different ways.
But I know somebody whose birthday was February 29th. He has bar mitzvah on his 52nd birthday.
I like that. Yeah, that's a great thing. So yeah, it's Tu B'Shvat. Good morning, everyone. So if it's okay with you, we're gonna do Tu B'Shvat. We're not gonna have 4 cups of wine at 10 a.m. in Cleveland. You do you, but we're gonna, and maybe you are having dates and figs and all the delicious things. But I wanted to go through and do some Tu B'Shvat study together and read from my favorite Tu B'Shvat handout from an organization called Livnot Ulehibanot. You might be familiar with it. It's an Israeli organization which is focused on study and work, volunteerism. They're based in Sfat, and one of my favorite organizations. And every year they put out like a Tu B'Shvat packet, and we're going to study some sources based on that. So yeah, let's just, right before we jump in, and for the rest of the time, we've already talked around Tu B'Shvat. Tell me what you know about Tu B'Shvat.
It always rains on Tu B'Shvat in Israel.
In Israel, I have to check my weather app. Okay, it always rains. Well, it's the beginning of
there's
spring.
Always
it's
a
sort
full
of like
moon.
Yeah, it's sort of like April showers bring May flowers, right? Not always. Yeah, so it's always a full moon, right? It's the 15th of the Hebrew month of Shvat, and 15th of a month is always a full moon. Yeah. Great. Anything else that we know about it?
Why do we have so many holidays on the 14th and 15th of the month? Is it because it's a full moon?
Yes, yeah, it's the brightest. The night is always the brightest, right? We're happier when it's bright. We celebrate when it's bright. Yeah, the night is bright up. Yeah, it's a sign of sort of plenty and wholeness and success when the night is bright.
I mean, I can name 5 off the top of my head.
Yeah, the Pesach one is specifically because the sort of it helped. I mean, even though we say that we followed the pillar of fire and cloud, I think the idea of having the moon and the moonlight has sort of helped the Israelites through too. Yeah, but it's actually one of the texts we're going to look at, as you might know, is there's actually a debate in the Mishnah about when to celebrate Tu B'Shvat. Well, I mean, Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of Shvat, when to celebrate the New Year of the Trees. Shammai says the first day of Shvat. Hillel says the 15th day of Shvat. So even though we call it Tu B'Shvat, Shammai says it should be on a different date, and obviously then it would be Echad b'Shvat, or Rishon b'Shvat. Yeah. So here's the answer. We were going to look at it in the text, but now I'll just tell you. When it is the first day of the month, what does the night sky look like? What's in the sky at night?
A sliver of the moon.
Right, just the beginning sliver of a moon. How bright is it?
Not very.
Right, so at the beginning of a month, when it's just a sliver of a moon, it's about potential. It's about what the month is going to have in store for us, what the month is going to bring. It's anticipation, it's hope, it's expectation. It's about potential for good things to happen. That's Shammai's argument, right? That we're celebrating, and sort of Tu B'Shvat is sort of about potential, right? I mean, we're in the middle of winter, right? Perhaps if you're in Israel, we're going to talk about it, right? The first tree is blossoming for spring, the almond tree, right? It's the sap is beginning to rise in the winter trees. This is basically the middle of winter, right now, right? But the 15th of Shvat, when it's a full moon, is already about the realized potential, actualized potential, right? The moon is full, the dark night is now light and bright, right? That's what we've been anticipating has come to fruition. That's the difference between beginning of the month and middle of the month. Now, has that actually happened in weather-wise, seasonally for Tu B'Shvat?
Not here.
I mean, even in Israel, it's like the first thing that's blossoming. It's not like everything is blossoming. It's not like the high point of spring or summer or harvest, right? You're not harvesting anything on Tu B'Shvat in Israel, are you? No, right? The beautiful beginning, the almond tree is starting to blossom, and
So it just
someone
has
else.
buds.
Yeah, or it just has a no. I there are Israelis here, but I've been there on Tu B'Shvat, and it is really there are blossoms that do start to. And someone compared it, I don't remember who, to the cherry blossom season in Washington D.C. Sort of like that, yeah. Halina did, yeah. Someone, yeah. So right, beautiful, right? But that's just the beginning, right? So that's the distinction between Shammai is about hope for things to come. We're really the beginning. Hillel is more, we've started to see the beginnings of the actualization of what we're hoping for and waiting for. Okay, anything else we know about Tu B'Shvat before we jump into some readings? We're going to read some intricate things like why certain fruits and vegetables we use, including perhaps your favorite carob, and what do the rabbis think about this thing called the carob, boxer. Anything else we know about Tu B'Shvat?
Yeah, it was always, I remember as a child, we used to go, even in a kindergarten, we used to go and plant trees. And as I said, not always it was raining. We had to go and pour water, which was very difficult to find. But it was always a nice, after the winter, everything is dead. Everything is dead. And all of a sudden, we see this blossom on the tree, and it was just spectacular. I remember it vividly. It was one of the few things that really stuck in my mind, how beautiful it was. Because Bashmama, everything was sand, the bare trees, everything was looking so without trees, without greenery. It was really not like nowadays.
Like the winter right now.
Yeah, like the winter in Cleveland. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. And suddenly, right, we know what happens to us in the spring, right?
Blooms, and it was just wonderful.
Beautiful, right? So perhaps any Clevelanders here, we also do engage in planting on Tu B'Shvat in two ways that I know of, and you can tell me more. Way number one is we donate money to plant trees in Israel, usually through JNF, right? Whether the planting is done at that moment or not, this is the time when we focus on buying trees to be planted for Israel. And the second one is there's also a tradition, which we've always done with our kids when they were little, of planting parsley seeds or parsley shoots so that they are ready by the time of Pesach and Passover.
No, never saw that.
Yeah, if you plant it now, we always do it in our Hebrew school with our kindergarten and first graders and second grade. If you plant parsley now, it'll be ready, and you take care of it, it'll be ready for Pesach, so you can use it for karpas. Yeah.
You plant it indoors or
In
out?
Cleveland?
Indoors. Yes, in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Indoors, in little cups. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not outdoors. Indoor plant. This is little indoor planting that we do with the kids. Yeah. Anything else about Tu B'Shvat before we jump? We have a lot of sources to look at. So yeah, we can call it a day here. But yeah, Eric?
So the question is, why now? Why during Shabbat?
Great question. Anyone know? And so this is when the sap is rising in Israel, right? I've never gone, but I know that here in Cleveland, like in Burton, they do the tree tapping for syrups, right? And
I've seen it in Vermont.
Right. When is that done?
They're doing that now, I think.
Yeah,
I think they
March?
Yes.
Now
This early.
we're a little later. Yeah. So in midwinter, what, Bob?
A little later than usually.
I think it's a little like end of February.
No, but there was an
March.
article that they started already because there were some warm days.
Well,
yes.
right. Climate change or whatever else you want to
Yeah.
I was growing up.
That's right.
Say that
I
too.
thought when I was growing up, I remember it being March, but of course.
Yeah, it's usually end of February or March. So the reason why Shvat, because in Israel, remember, we're all focused on this. All of our holidays are agriculturally and climate, wise and weather wise. We are focused on the climate of Eretz Yisrael, right? So this is the time to tap if they tap trees for syrup or sap, I don't know. But this is when the sap begins to rise within the tree, which then leads to the blossoms and the growth of the fruits and everything. Yeah, that's the reason why. And there's the economic reasons, right? We always talk about this as tax day, right? This is when when the temple stood, right? You always had to bring a tithe. You had an offering or an amount of money that you gave in donation to the Beit HaMikdash, right, for your harvest, your bounty, because of course the only reason we have the bounty is because of God. So we say thank you by making a donation to the temple. If you want, I can make a machar call for you for the campaign on Tu B'Shvat. But this was the end. This was tax day, so not April 15th, but sort of like the end of the year, because they had to make a distinction, from this point on, where you're now taxed for next year, right? This is the last time you can get your your tax credits or whatever, because the next season was starting. They needed a way to markate the season, and this was the first thing that blossomed in the spring in Israel at this moment in time. So there's an economic sort of background to this. Elliot?
Yes, Rabbi, I joined late, but I heard you mention sap, tree sap. I want to acquaint everybody with a marvelous product made from coconut tree sap. It's called Coconut Secret. It bears an OU, if that's kosher for you, and it carries, it's a replacement for soy sauce and tastes 1,000,000% better, has 70% less sodium than soy sauce. The product is called Coconut Secret. Again, comes from coconut aminos, coconut tree sap, and Heinen's has it, and Whole Foods.
I love it. Thanks, Elliot. We're getting commercials here. We're gonna have to send them the bill. I love it. I love it. Great.
Well, you mentioned sap. You mentioned
No, I love it. Great.
Pomegranates are important for Tu B'Shvat, but
very important.
I was
because we didn't talk about the 7 species of Israel, of which Rimanim pomegranates are.
Greatly disappointed because some people believe that pomegranates have 613 seeds, and I counted one time, and there were 612.
Elliot, you're funny. I've told this story before that many years for a confirmation class, we would get a bushel of pomegranates because, right, traditionally we believe the pomegranates there's 613 seeds, related, of course, to the mitzvot. So we would count them as a class. Every single student would take one and we would count them. By the way, you get they're pretty messy when you do it. And we never got 613. Close, you're right. There's always like somewhere between about 550 or 700, but we've never hit on the magic 613 yet. We're still working on it. Yeah. Any other Tu B'Shvat things? I do have like a lot of sources. So anything else Tu B'Shvat?
One quick question,
Yeah.
that there's no additions to any of the services for Tu B'Shvat, as opposed to every other notable day in our calendar.
Correct. There's no liturgical additions to the prayer service, but there is a Tu B'Shvat Seder that the mystics created 500 years ago. So there is a separate service, theoretically, that the mystics created. They elevated this holiday, connecting it to earth and nature and God and mysticism. So they took it another realm outside of this sort of tax day and tithing day that originally wasn't just this concept of a new year. Yeah.
And you
Yes.
skipped Tachanun too, right?
And we skipped that, right? We did not do Tachanun this morning. You're right. Yeah. You got it. Okay. So anything else about Tu B'Shvat? Yeah. So there's a Seder. It parallels the Pesach Seder with 4 cups of wine, different versions, that's really the essence of it, and eating different fruits, which stand for different people. We're not going to get into that. With other years, we've talked about those things, and perhaps you've done it with us in different contexts. There's so many amazing Tu B'Shvat Seders where then they parallel different portions of the Pesach. So the original one didn't parallel, like there were not 4 questions, but there's more modern ones that have written great 4 questions focusing on environment and climate change, or Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. So there's all different great Tu B'Shvat Haggadot that have been written and Seders that have been written. So we're going to look at a couple. This is more sort of intellectual and educational and conversation. So I want to bring some sources that are interesting or things to say about Tu B'Shvat. Okay? Sound like a plan? Okay.
Might even
so
work.
Might even work. So I'm going to screen share, if I can find it. Is it this one? Here we go. So this is what it looks like. Okay, the Tu B'Shvat Companion, from Livnot to Libanot, a handbook for the new year of the tree. Okay, so someone want to be a reader today? I gotta find where my thing is. Hold on, gotta figure out how I'm flipping this. I can't see people anymore, so if you want to be a reader, tell me. We're going to go to page 12. Anyone want to be a reader?
I'll read.
Okay, I'm just going to read a couple things just for a second. Well, actually, here you go. We're going to start here with Jewish tradition. Is it big enough for you?
Yep.
Okay, Jewish tradition.
Jewish tradition holds every living thing and even inanimate objects as containing a certain amount of wonder, as if there is a secret hiding inside of everything, yearning to be recognized, revealed, and even protected. In our tradition, trees are to be respected. Just as there are human rights and animal rights, there are tree rights. For instance, you can't just wantonly chop down a tree.
Can you see?
In order to sensitize farmers and the rest of us too, and to prevent us from relating to a tree as a fruit factory. Every 7th year during the sabbatical year, Hebrew the Shemitah, the pruning of trees is forbidden. Trees deserve a vacation too. A similar law in Judaism has to do with circumcision. but not the circumcision that you are thinking of, rather the circumcision of trees. How do you circumcise a tree? Simple. Don't eat its fruit for the first 3 years. In Judaism, the fruit of the tree's first 3 years is called an orlah, or uncircumcised. The fruit is set aside, prohibited for human consumption or utilization, as if to say, remember, trees are not machines. They are alive. You cannot just use them as you want. They have an independent existence which goes beyond serving humans. Respect it. In the story of creation, the first human was placed in the middle of the Garden of Eden to work it and to preserve it. In the temple era, a farmer would bring his first fruits up to Jerusalem and give them as an offering, as if to say, not because I'm a good farmer are these fruits here today, but there is a higher force responsible. Still today, we tithe fruits in the land of Israel, as if to say, we're not the owners of the land, but only its caretakers. This also constitutes a symbolic recognition that the land of Israel really belongs to its creator and not to its human masters.
Okay, we're going to stop here. Anything interesting? I see Ryan has a hand up. Anything interesting? Anything? Do you agree? Have you thought about I never thought about circumcising a tree before like this. I mean, I've heard of pruning a tree, but yeah, Ron, Elliot, and then I want to focus on one line in this. Ron first.
It says that it's the fruit isn't what's it say? For 3 years. What is this? I lost it.
Don't eat its fruit for the first 3 years.
No, it says something about human prohibited for human consumption.
Yes.
And within the last couple of weeks, I took a lecture that said it's prohibited for Jewish consumption, that we can sell it to the goyim and they can eat it.
Oh.
And that actually is in the Gemara somewhere.
Well, let's not say goyim. Let's say not.
That's how this person interpreted what the Gemara said.
Number one, let's say non-Jews. Yeah. The non-Jewish world. Yeah. I didn't know that you were actually allowed to make use of it. Right here it says utilize, and that's how my understanding. Because obviously, if you are distributing it to other people, that's utilizing, right? This is just saying animals. This is saying animals can eat it. Yeah.
This was my understanding of it also, but this person totally disagreed with that. And he's somebody you know, by the way.
That's someone I know. Yeah. So it's always been. I have not studied Orla law in depth, but as far as I know, you are not supposed to make any use of it because it belongs to God only. The first 3 years. Elliot, and then I want to talk about the one line that I thought most interesting.
This is all very beautiful. And moving from the lower forms of nature, so to speak, what about to human beings? Don't they all have that need to be recognized, to have their strengths revealed, and for protection?
Yes, beautiful. And that's what I wanted to get into this line, the opening line. Jewish tradition holds every living thing as containing a certain amount of wonder, as if there's a secret hiding inside of us, yearning to be recognized, revealed, and even protected. Yeah, and here we're even talking about, right, trees. Trees. Yeah, trees. So trees are more, they're not just inanimate objects. And by the way, there are there are more native religions or indigenous religions that really, believe that, right? And
they worship trees.
Yeah, it's a significant part of their religion and their faith. Yeah, Bob? You got on mute.
I'm not positive of this, but I think that if you want to have a young tree get its strength as it's growing, they can pick the blossoms off so that it doesn't have fruit. in its very early life.
Interesting. I'm not a botanist, nor do I have a green thumb. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. There's also an idea that I think that the first couple years, right? It's not a mature plant, right? And I think the fruit produced is not as rich. But again, this is outside of my wheelhouse here. Any other comments before we move forward? But I just love that idea that there's something sort of hidden, something inside, something to be revealed. And that's sort of part of what Tu B'Shvat is about. Okay. Jackie, we're going to have you read again. Here we go.
Okay.
We're skipping a lot of great stuff here. Okay.
Today we
Okay.
start.
Yep.
Okay.
You good?
Today
Yep.
we start our feast with the 7 species, which are the fruits that the land of Israel is famous for. For Hashem is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks, fountains, and springs, flowing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, and grapevines and figs and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and date honey. Our Tu B'Shvat Seder is similar concept as the Pesach Seder that creates an order around the celebration which links us with the land of Israel. Our ancestors treasured its stones and soil. How much more so its trees and fruit. Passover marks the journey. Tu B'Shvat celebrates the arrival. Passover is about yearning for the land of Israel. Tu B'Shvat is the appreciation of it.
What do you guys think of that?
Interesting.
I thought it was really interesting and beautiful. And this actually, to me, I didn't pause to give you guys enough time. To me, this talks to that distinction between Shammai and Hillel. Shammai was the potential, the anticipation, the expectation, right? What could happen.
There's the realization.
Whereas Hillel this is the beginning of something good, right? That actually it's already started, right? And Pesach is we're going, we're yearning, we're hoping. Tu B'Shvat is we're in the land and we're beginning to enjoy its fruits. Other comments, thoughts, or you all just agree with me? Okay, we're going to look at some of the specific.
It leaves out Sukkot.
Things. Yeah, I don't know where Sukkot is in it, right? Sukkot's all about bounty. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a full realization with Sukkot.
There you go. Maybe maybe that's the end. Okay, we're going to talk about wheat and barley because why not? Okay, so, right, there are 7 species. These are 2 of the 7 species, right? The 7 species are what we read in the Torah, right? It's this verse from the Torah that talks about native indigenous vegetation that are crops that sort of symbolize they are the ultimate Israeli foods. Wheat and barley are 2 of them. All right, go ahead.
Okay, wheat and barley in Jewish tradition are considered the staples of the daily diet. Wheat for humans and barley for our animals. In Israel, barley ripens earlier than wheat, and this is perhaps reflects the Jewish tradition of sensitivity to animals. Jewish law forbids us to eat until we have fed our animals. Also, wheat products represent our human ability to change and improve. In Jewish tradition, activism is not considered a value on its own. Any action is considered an expression of our inner mindset. What do our actions express? In order to awaken this existential question, before eating bread, there is a ritual called Netilat Yadayim, which literally means elevating of the hands. We wash our hands and then raise them in front of our face while we're reciting the blessing, in order to remind ourselves that our actions, hands, have to be rooted in our mindfulness and attention.
Okay.
Face.
Comments, thoughts? So we're looking at wheat and barley. What's the difference between wheat and barley?
Well, With wheat, you can make flour and bread. Barley is tradition. It's not usually eaten as a bread.
Barley's for animals.
Right, barley's for animals, right? Wheat is
Except you
cholent.
add, when you add
Or
mushrooms and
barley's
soup.
for cholent. Yes, brought to you. Now we're going to sponsored by the Cholent, the 23rd annual Men's Club Sheila Redmond Bach Cholent Cook-Off this Saturday at noon at B'nai Yeshurun. Yes. Yeah, I mean barley. I don't know. I think it's used for other things, but yeah, but wheat is the staple of our diet, right? If we're going to say like, what is the one main thing that we eat, unless you're like no carb or something, right? Wheat is it? And so
Wheat is
they're
very
just,
versatile.
Or
You
unless
can-
you are sick with celiac disease.
oh, there you go. Celiac too. Yeah. So, right, they're saying here in Israel, barley ripens earlier than wheat, which is true, right? And it's a really interesting take, right? That that this teaches us our sensitivity to animals, that we should always feed our animals first. And again, a recognition of sort of if this is really like an environmental day and we're expanding it even past the land of Israel and past land, but we're saying that it's more holistic about world concerns and climate change and animal security and preservation, right? Then we keep expanding the notion of sort of what Tu B'Shvat can teach us and what we can focus on. Other comments, thoughts?
Barley makes good soup.
Barley makes good soup. There you go. Yeah.
Also used in beer.
I know. I was waiting for somebody to say that. Also used in beer, 100%. Yeah.
And that statement is why Moishi gets fed first before we get fed.
Yeah, from the Talmud, right? Moshe's your dog, cute dog, your doodle. Yeah, right. Well, that's why we're supposed to always take care of our animals. We always teach that to our kids. Yeah, make sure they have water and food if they need to go out. Right? We need to do it for them. It's a reminder of the different people that we need to, and people and individuals and animals in the world and the land that we always have to care for. Because as we read in it, as one of the first things that Jackie read, right? Our first job in this world that God did was put us in the Garden of Eden to tend and protect it and care for all the animals, just like Noah. And we've always been animal caretakers. All right, we're going to go to olives, if that's okay. We're jumping through Zaytim. And if you can read, our ancestors.
Our ancestors used olives mainly for olive oil, which was considered the perfect oil for lighting candles. The oil, however, is not easily extracted from the fruit in order to make oil. Or in order to make oil, one must crush and then press the olives. It is a difficult and slow process, but worth the effort. The olive tree can live a life of hundreds and even thousands of years and give fruit the entire time. One of the reasons for this vitality is the fact that every olive tree is actually not a single tree, but a family. The new shoots constantly rise from the shoots and join the mother tree, constantly helping it to grow wider and providing it with a unique external appearance. Over time, the mother tree dies, but the family tree continues to live and prosper.
Let's talk about the second paragraph that Jackie read. Does that talk to you? Interesting? What do you think?
Yeah, it's amazing to see these trees that are 1,000 years old.
Mm-hmm. And this idea of like a family tree, right? That like one part may die off, but the next part sort of lives on and carries the tree forward.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, right? A great metaphor, and it's amazing. Yeah, Elliot?
Yeah, I think when I think of olives, I think of the Mediterranean diet, which is strongly advocated by a lot of health experts. And of course, there are many, many qualities of olive oil: virgin, non-virgin, first pressed, cold pressed, warm pressed, medium pressed, and a lot of pressure there.
Amen. See, I thought you were going to say when I think of olives, I think of martinis. But yeah, it's a little too early for that today. But yeah, olives are the staple of Israel and the entire Mediterranean. Obviously, olive oil is the focus of Hanukkah, and right, the idea of the way to make oil, olive oil, is to crush and press, right? And this idea about pressure, there's different readings, and the rabbis actually talk about this. And for all the fruits and vegetables we're going to talk about, they compared the Jewish people and Eretz Israel to all these things. So they're going to say for oil and or for olives, and I'll just show you. Oh, it's hard to see here. That didn't come out fast. I'll read it to you. Just as the olive has to be crushed and beaten in order to produce the finest olive oil, so too the people of Israel. Their finest side comes out only after they go through crushing agony. And it's not very positive. It is sort of the story of the Jewish people about all the persecution and difficulties we've gone through over the course of our time. And here the rabbis are sort of recasting that, like the beauty and deliciousness and nutritiousness and sustainability and flexibility of the olive oil, right, is a statement of also of who the Jewish people are. And that continuation, and that one shoot might die off, but the next shoot comes to life. Halina, yes.
Yeah, I want to mention something about the second paragraph about the roots.
Yes.
Our roots are very important. And in Israel, there is not a lot of water. So
Yes.
the trees that don't have water, they have to spread their roots much deeper and much out to all kind of directions in order to get some nutrition and water. And that's like the people, they have to rely on good roots before
Amen.
they become a good human being.
Amen. You just wrote my sermon for this week. Beautiful. Yeah, couldn't say it better. Okay, we're going to move on. So Tu B'Shvat is all about, focusing on each of these different fruits and vegetables, especially the 7 species, what we can learn from them, both in the way that they are used, how they're made, and also like comparisons to the Jewish people. All right. I guess, Jackie, you're our reader. We have a date. Go for it.
Okay. Introduction. Palm trees attracted the curiosity and praises of our sages for having a variety of utilities. This inspired them to claim the palm as a symbol of sustainability and a waste-free lifestyle. Every part of the tree is useful and has a purpose. Just as in our private lives, we are encouraged not to waste our resources. A similar idea is incorporated on a communal level. Different people have different abilities and traits, and building a community often requires a certain diversity in which every member contributes his or her special color to the communal bouquet. Another important Jewish value can be extracted from the palm tree: inclusiveness. One who achieves a certain level of completeness and enlightenment is expected to become an inspiration and share their drive towards improvement with others.
Right. To me, the first paragraph really resonates beautifully, right? And sort of the sustainability and all the different uses and a recognition of different people, and in particular, here's you can see the source. Source 1 here. Palm tree has nothing wasted from it. The dates are for eating. Young and open branches we use for lulav. They use fibers to make rope. Empty date clusters are used to make sieves. Branches are used to make roofs, right? Similarly, the people of Israel have no wasted person. I think we can probably say this in a positive way, right? Everyone has their place. Everyone has something to contribute. And that's really what this is. I don't know if you think about that when you're eating a delicious sweet date, that every single person has something to contribute. Maybe we can say everyone has some sweetness to share with the community. All right, good. Did we do our due diligence? I know now I'm hungry for dates, which isn't good. I think I have some date syrup in my closet. Okay, I'm just going to read you to one line about the grapes. Go ahead. What?
Have a coconut.
Yeah, we're going to have the coconut sap too, thanks to Elliot. Yeah, grapes. Jewish sources often refer to the people of Israel as a grapevine, full of beauty, fullness, and diversity. All parts of the grapevine are vital to its existence, right? There's an idea that every single part of a grapevine is essential in order for it to grow properly. And I'm not a wine connoisseur yet. Maybe I aspire to at some point in life, but yeah, I know like when you're a wine connoisseur, it's all about the grapes, how they're grown, and all the different facets of the grape, and the control of the temperature and the soil type, and all these different things to make a wine what it is, right? And I think about that like if we think about the Jewish people as grapes in the grapevine, all the nurture and the care and the protection, and right, all the making sure all the elements are just right. And I think that sort of speaks a little bit to who we are too.
And stuffed grape leaves work.
And stuffed grape. I mean, now you're just making me hungry. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Elliot.
Yes, I would like to relate a spiritual experience I had many years ago walking among a vineyard with a view of Lake Erie. This is a grape growing area in Western New York. And just prior to harvesting time, you could smell an intoxicating sweetness in the air before those Concord grapes were ready to be picked. Just marvelous to see that and look at the vineyard and look at Lake Erie from down below. It just, I call that a spiritual experience, but that sweetness in the air is something I won't forget.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Beautiful. So now we're on to figs. We're making our way through all the 7 species. I think we may have skipped 1 or 2. Since the fig is physically and botanically so different from all other fruits, its physical properties are often stressed in Jewish sources. It is a symbol of Torah in its uniqueness and the process of Jewish education. So how has that come to be? I'll show you the text here, specifically 3 and 4. Why is the Torah likened to a fig? All the fruits have something inedible in them. Dates have pits, grapes have seeds, pomegranates have rinds, but the fig is good to eat in its entirety, inside and out. Likewise, all the words of Torah have nothing worthless in them. That's one comparison that they have to the fig and Jewish tradition. The second is, why are the words of the Torah likened to the fig tree? Just like this fig tree in which the more one searches, the more figs one can find, so are the words of Torah. The more one studies, the more wisdom one finds in them. So figs are sweet. We eat them up, and that's what we're supposed to do with the entire Torah. That's my quick take on it. We're going to jump to the carob, if that's okay. I gotta find it here. There we go, carob, which in Hebrew is charuv. Jackie, you want to read the introduction?
Sure. The Hebrew name of the carob, charuv, has a few different meanings, all of which are related to lack and destruction. For this reason, the carob.
Go ahead.
For this reason, the carob was proclaimed a symbol of hardship and settling for less. However, in Jewish tradition, deprivation and struggles are steps to climb on and to grow from. The carob also symbolizes the resilience of the Jewish people through the countless tragedies they have experienced and the secret of their immortality. Some believe that this resilience stems from a connection to an infinite source of unconditional love, enabling us to invest in something just because we believe it is good, even if we will never bear the fruit of our effort.
Okay, there's a lot in here. Anything sort of stick out to you?
Well, in planting a tree, many of us, if you plant a young tree, you may not live to harvest the fruit.
Mm-hmm. And
but
that's that. Yeah,
but still, you're doing it for the future.
Mm-hmm. that's that classic story, which we can have here, the Choni story. Right. One day, as Choni was walking on the road, he saw an old man planting a carob tree. Right. And Choni asked him, "How long does it take until this carob tree will bear its fruit?" And the man said, 70 years. Choni said, "Is it so obvious to you that you're going to live another 70 years and actually eat these fruits? I mean, you're an old man already." Right. And the man said to him, "I found this world with carob trees that my ancestors planted for me. I will plant also these for my grandchildren," or however you want to read the story. Yeah, right. So the carob tree is the classic tree that, it takes a long time to offer fruits, right? This is the carob, boxer, or charuv. Right? These are the seeds. Other things come out from that first paragraph of introduction. How is it related to lack and destruction?
The shoresh.
The shoresh. Okay, well, not all of us are Hebrew speakers. What do you mean?
So cheref is a sword, but lacharov is also to distract. So there are a few things in it.
Right, so the word, right. So now you're talking about the actual etymology of the word. Yeah,
But
Ruth?
also when you eat it, it's so hard you can break your teeth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Doesn't it also mean dry or desolate?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
Yeah, it also means.
Harava is dryness. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
it
to
means.
struggle to get to any sweetness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. We always tell the kids in the Hebrew school when we serve it, just suck on it. Do not bite it. Yeah. We don't want to pay any dental bills.
Yeah.
Right.
Smart.
Yeah. So, right, as this opening thing says, right, it's related to lack and destruction. The carob itself is a symbol of hardship and perhaps even settling for less. Deprivation and struggles are steps for growth, right? This is about growth. This is about how we can overcome, right? The carob symbolizes resiliency, right? The resiliency that our ancestors and our people have, even in the face of countless tragedies, right? We believe in that we are strong and we can move forward, right? So that's perhaps what right, that it is the sweetness that we find in being able to carry on with strength and to be resilient. Okay. All right, you want to read this one? Spiritual insight, Jackie?
Sure. In a world full of materialism and overindulgence, it's hard to remember that there is a positive aspect to hardship. Sometimes when things break down, hardship serves as a red flag, telling us that the essence of our existence was out of tune all along. According to Jewish spirituality, we are meant to practice seeing every experience as an opportunity to grow. Sometimes we want to create and to make the world better, but the energy for our effort doesn't come from the right source. One cannot expect to make peace only because of the fear of war, or to build strong relationships out of the fear of being alone. So we find ourselves in an endless struggle. Instead of paying attention to the source, too many times we try quieting the symptoms. In this case, we need to go through a process of deprivation where all our tools are broken or abandoned in order to connect our roots back to the groundwater.
So I want to see what you guys think about it. Before, I'm just going to show you the source that they're basing this on. The source from Jewish text is number 3 from the Midrash. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, said that carob and sycamore roots are the tree roots that spread all the way down to groundwater. They are strong and deep, and they go all the way down to the original source of water. So anyone get anything from this insight that Jackie read? In a world full of materialism, it's hard to remember the aspect of hardship. Yeah?
We can't see those roots in the groundwater, but we have to believe that they're there if we see something growing.
Or we have to dig deep. We're the ones that have to find it, right?
But you have to have a belief that it will be there.
And, right, it's interesting, this part, right, that we need to focus on the source, right? Too many times we see here they're saying the symptoms, right? You see that's like, if we're talking about like water source, there are problems with water sources, right? Like we have to do really deep. Whoever came and heard Oded Rachav, who's doing the Dead Sea Guardian, if you heard him 2 weeks ago when he was in town, right, and he was talking about he's talking about the erosion of the Dead Sea, right, and the significant disappearance of the Dead Sea, right, and what he taught us or taught me anyway, is that it's not about the actual Dead Sea, it's about the water source that feeds into the Dead Sea that needs to be repaired, right, that the tributaries of the Jordan River, which then feeds into the Dead Sea, that's the only way to stop the erosion, is not to focus on like the symptom, but to go back to the source.
We have the same problem with the Salt Lake City, Salt Lake.
Yeah, Elliot.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about reflects the criticism of allopathic medicine, i.e., which is focused too much on symptom management rather than taking a look at the source.
Got it. Yes, 100%. So what I wanted to end with this is really long source about carobs, and then we're sort of going to wrap it up and call it a day. After the world was created, Adam was given a task to give names to every being, as it says in the Torah, and God brought them to Adam to see what Adam would call it. And whatever Adam called each living thing, that was its name. But when Adam approached the carob tree, he didn't know how to define its essence and identity. On the one hand, the carob is one of the most famous trees in the land of Israel. On the other hand, it was not included as one of the 7 species. Adam watched its fruit and paid attention that it looked like a sword, charev, and therefore called it charuv. The carob began shuddering immediately and arguing, "Why is my name forever to be reminded of a sword and destruction?" God tried to appease the carob tree. Later on, tzaddikim, great righteous people, will be sufficed by you, will be sustained by you and nourished by you from one Shabbat Eve to the other, which is, by the way, if you know, it's the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the great mystical rabbi who lived in a cave, and he ate 1 meal a week with his son, which was a carob tree on Erev Shabbos. But this was a poor answer to the carob tree. When my sons will be in the diaspora, exiled from the land, they will start a tradition to bless and eat carobs on Tu B'Shvat. God continued, but the carob was right. It's beautiful, right? Here God is saying, don't worry, right? When Jews are no longer living in Eretz Yisrael, how are they going to remember Israel? They're going to have a carob tree on Tu B'Shvat. Right? Just like we do with our kids. God continued, but the carob was still not appeased. Please be comforted by the fact that 2 great tzaddikim will be sufficed by your fruits for years while hiding in the cave. Also, the tree they will eat from will receive a very special blessing during all the long years of exile. When the land of Israel is going to be destroyed, this carob will exist and remain alive. The Jewish community will always exist beside it. When the children of Israel will gather back to the Holy Land and return, the inhabitants of the Galilee will come on Tu B'Shvat to the village of Piki'in and celebrate Tu B'Shvat, the new year for the tree, under this particular carob. Immediately, the carob tree was comforted by those words. I don't know which carob tree it's talking. I just read this the other day. What carob? Is there a carob tree there in Piki'in? I gotta go now.
A Chinese carob tree.
I gotta look. I gotta go. Yeah. Do you know, Ruth, Helena?
I don't know.
I didn't Google it, but it's a beautiful story, right?
It
It's
is
this
a
beautiful
beautiful
story of why the carob has, even though it's not one of the 7 species, right? It's not something that's, biblically tied to the land, is such a, a connection to Tu B'Shvat and the land of Israel and sweetness. So I want to wrap up. Any other sort of closing thoughts? Tu B'Shvat, it's such a great holiday in the middle of the cold winter to think about blossoms and blooming in spring. Yeah, Ruth?
First of all, in Pki'in, I think, were the last Jews before the state of Israel. There were some Jews in Pki'in. This is one thing. The other thing is I get articles from the Academy of Hebrew Language almost every day on my Facebook.
Yeah.
And there is a story, they say that kids have very beautiful way of creating new words in Hebrew.
Yeah.
A father reads his little boy the giving tree in Hebrew, Ha'etz HaNadiv, and at the end of the story, it says, and the tree was happy. A tree, Ha'etz Haya Me'ushar, and the kid says to him, how could it be Me'ushar if it was chopped? Ha'etz Haya Karut, איך הוא יכול להיות מאושר? It touched my soul this morning so much. It was such a beautiful response of a kid who says, how can the tree be happy if it was chopped?
מפי עוללים ויונקים.
Yes. Yeah, right, from the mouth of babes. Yeah. By the way, yeah, there's actually a lot of, not controversy about the story, but controversy about the moral, the lesson of that, it's such a beautiful story, but right, what is the actual lesson, right? It's about consumption of natural resources, but yeah, but right, they said it's charuv, right? Is that what you said, Ruth?
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted now. Yeah.
Karut עם כף, not עם חטא.
Yeah, go. You're still muted. Unmute yourself.
Ha'etz HaNadiv. It didn't, I don't know if it was mentioned as a charuv, but the translation in Hebrew.
Yeah, the giving tree.
The giving tree, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
I have one question about it before you conclude. So the 3 years that we cannot eat the fruits of the trees, is there any, and we cannot prune them or cut them, is there any correlation with the 3 years that we don't cut the boys' hair?
100%. Yes, that's where it came from. Yes, Orla, it's a biblical obligation of Orla and the idea of an upshirin, right? That in a very traditional communities, right? That a boy does not have his hair cut until it's their birthday. That's 100% that. Yes.
Yes.
That's where it comes from.
The field.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so, there you go. Thanks, Stuart. Yes, we're wrapping up now. Other thoughts? Yeah, Bob?
I just read, when you see the food ingredient locust bean gum, which is a thickener, it's carob.
Oh, thank you. Even, not as good as coconut sap, but very good.
It was arrowroot, the thickener.
Well, I don't know. I will let you guys debate that.
They're different products, similar use, but it's a low-fat thickener like they put in ice creams and things like that.
Okay.
So I hope that you all are going to celebrate Tu B'Shvat, have some fruit, have some fun, maybe have carob or dates or figs, maybe even a little bit of wine too. But I hope that it's a Yom Tov, a happy day and a great day for all of you. And I will see you guys next week, next Monday, 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yashar Kor.
Tu B'Shvat Sameach.